folks. I just wanted to have a quick catch up after doing the peated whisky. It's been a couple of months since I made that. It's been sitting on oak in a jar, and I tasted it the other night and it tasted pretty nice. So what I thought I'd do is dig out all the sample bottles that I've been trying over the last, I don't know, 6 months or so, and line them all up and place my whiskies in amongst those as a rough guide of where I think what I've made sits compared to the other bits and pieces. Now I've placed them where I think they are tasting at the moment. So one of my whiskies is about 6 months old, the other one is only 2 months old. So they don't sit very high at the moment, but they do sit at what I think is quite a nice place, particularly amongst the whiskies that I enjoy drinking. So here we go. In the right hand jar is my 6 month old whisky, and I think that sits down there near the likes of the Glen Grant Majors Reserve. And the Glen Grant Majors Reserve is a cheap whisky, very young and slightly harsh, but it's about the limit of what I'd actually pay to go out and buy a bottle of whisky. On the left is the peated whisky that I've done, and that's only 2 months old, but it tastes gorgeous at the moment, and I'm quite pleased with the way that's turning out. Quite happy to sit that between the Glenlivet Founders Reserve and Glenmorangie Original. That's how I feel about it in terms of if I was sat there with all three, which one would I want to drink? This is a very subjective view of whiskies. Obviously everyone's taste is different, so what I like is probably not the same as other people. Certainly a lot of people who do video blogs online seem to particularly like the peated varieties of whiskies, and that's not me at all. I'm not a big fan of them. My grandfather used to drink Lafroig all the time. And it's just a foul drink as far as I'm concerned. It just doesn't appeal to my taste. So apologies in advance if I upset anyone with what I like and dislike out of this group. But we all have different tastes, and I expect other people to like other things. I think what it really gives is a view as to what I'm aiming for within a whisky, what I like and dislike. The best whisky I've ever tasted is Aberlour Aberna. I had a chance to taste that recently, and it just blows everything else that I've ever tasted in the past out of the water. I'd love to be able to create something like that to myself. I don't think what I'm creating at the moment is anywhere near it, but it's what I aspire to. It was a whisky that I really enjoyed. What we have here is a selection of whiskies that I think I'll be willing to go out and buy. It includes some of my go-to whiskies, like the Glenfiddich Solara Vat, the Glenmorangie 10 and the Glenlivet Founders Reserve. Those three tend to be the ones that I've purchased most often over the last 15 years or so. And amongst there's the other ones that I found particularly nice out of ones that I've been trying, and so all of the ones this side I would buy again. The Glen Grant Majors Reserve is the cheapest whisky I would consider buying. Bought it on a whim one day because it was on offer in the shop, and I was very surprised at how nice it tasted considering its price point, right at the bottom end of the market. But it appealed to my taste. Also here we have the Chivas Regal Extra and the Chivas Regal 12 blends, which I found quite nice. Then we have Teeling Small Batch and Writer's Tears, two Irish whiskies that I found I quite like. And alongside that is Tomatin 14. Obviously in the back there is the Glenlivet Founders Reserve. Monkey Shoulder is another blend there that I've quite that I found I quite like, along with the Glenmorangie Quinto Ruban, which is the port finished version of the Glenmorangie 10-year-old. I had a sample pack of the 4, and out of those, that was the one I liked best. These are the nicest whiskies that I've tried. The Dalwhinnie 15 is one of my favourites. Quite like the Winter Reserve version as well that they do of that. Other than the Aberlour Aberna, which I had a chance to taste recently, which was absolutely lovely. The other ones that I particularly like, as I mentioned, is the Glenfiddich 15 Solara Vat. Also tasted recently was this Glenkinchie 12 and the Oban 14. Again, these were really nice. On this side we have a bunch of whiskies that I've tried that, although okay, I doubt whether I'd actually go out and buy a bottle of it for myself. Wouldn't refuse one if someone offered it to me, but it wasn't enough for me to want to actually spend any money on it. Just didn't suit my tastes at all. So what we have here is the Teeling single malt, the La Santa and Nectar d'Or versions of the Glenmorangie, the Tomartin 12-year-old, the Tomartin Legacy, Wild Turkey 8-year-old, Buffalo Trace. Both of those bourbons were, yeah, fine, but they're too strong in alcohol content for my taste, and as soon as you touch them with water, the oakiness swamps forward and just destroys them. So they just didn't appeal to me. And we have a Glengoyne 10 and the Ben Ariac 10. Both of those were okay, but nothing to write home about. Then we get to the ones where I'd probably actually refuse if someone offered me a drink of them. The Gentleman Jack is fine as a mixer, but the Glencadam 10, Chivas Regal 18, Evan Williams, the Black Label. The surprising ones here are the Tom and Tool 10, 16 and 25, the Gentle Dram as they call it, but I found nothing in them that I actually liked, either no flavour at all and just harsh, or just not anything that I really took a fancy to. And then at the bottom here we have the Irishman Irish Whiskey and Teeling Single Grain, and then Johnny Walker Red. Johnny Walker Red I use in mixing, but when I'm doing cocktails and things like that. But most of the stuff down this side, as I said, are just not things that I'd buy again. I think the most surprising thing was just how many of these whiskies I didn't like that much. I was thinking that out of them I'd find maybe half that I quite liked out of all these little sample bottles. So out of these 22 samples that I bought, there's only about 6 that I think I would ever bother buying again, and that quite surprised me. In fact, I got to a point where I'm starting to ask myself, do I really like whiskey anymore? But then I tasted a few of those others and they were really nice, so it reminds me just what it is and why I'm bothering with it. What I really, really like is how well my peated whiskey is coming out. It's a bit too peated for what I like, so I'll probably blend that in with something else to tone down the peat. But it's lovely and sweet and smooth. You can hardly tell the alcohol in it. It's still young, so you can still taste some of that youngness in there. But in 2 months, it's cleaned up surprisingly well. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that improves with time going forward.